I haven't really talked to much people recently. Um, After my parents passed away, I haven't really been in contact with a lot of my family members. I tried, but a lot of times they don't like to respond or anything, so I'm assuming that they're living their life, and it's one of the things of trying to live mine, but it's one of the things about family means everything to me, but it's one of the things of my life. I was adopted when I was about 2, 3 years old. My parents gave me up for alcohol because of alcohol, and I forgive my mom for it. But um, sometimes I hate my father, but sometimes I love him, because he's brought me into this world. But it's one of the things of I was raised by a United States Air Force Master Sergeant and a United States Air Force Technical Sergeant. Um, so I grew up in around military ethics and codes and stuff. They were strict. They were a strict family, but they were kind and loving, firm in a lot of the things that they did in our lives. But it's one of the reasons why I wanted to be in the military. I wanted to be like my parents. But it's one of the things about loving two sets of parents, like my biological parents, my adopted parents. But I'm going through a shift, a change, because my parents that raised me were baby boomers, and that was my adopted parents. My biological parents are Generation X, and I'm a millennial. So I'm noticing there's a generational shift, and a lot of people have noticed it yet, and even trying to get that information out. It's tough, because it's one of the things. We always looked up to our parents for help, and then when they're gone, all we have left is ourselves and our family, our friends, and what more is there in life? There's so many things that I haven't done in life. So many things I have done, but it's one of the things. Loving family. No, because it's one of the things I talked about even with friends. Because even seeing it online, friends end with an END, because friendships sometimes end, but family ends in LILY, and I love you. Because you make friends family sometimes. It's tough. Life is rough. And all you can do is look to yourself. Because even looking for help from others, sometimes they're off doing their own thing, living their life, having no time for what you used to have, because adulthood got in the way. I've quit a lot of the stuff that I've done. I rarely drink. I don't do drugs. I just barely eat, but what I did was, 18 years ago, I took the first step to being a father. Because when my son was born, my biological father showed up to the hospital drunk, and I let him see my son, his grandson, but I escorted him out the building and told him to never come back until he was sober, and I seeked him out just to not be able to find him at all. I see his Facebook, I see the things he still does in life, but he doesn't really do much to even try. So it's just one of the things, because when my son was born, I enlisted, And that's the thing, you know. I was potentially going to die in wars. I was going to fight for this country and fight for y'all's freedom to be, well, I'm looking at some of the things, and sometimes it makes me wonder what I'm actually fighting for. But in all regards, my potential death that may have seen, I was going to leave her behind with my kids, with my son. And it was something I owed her. It was her family just as much as mine. And I know how much people listen to men more than they do to women. And I would listen to her because it is her family. Because it was one of the things that even with 6 years ago, or 7 years ago now, in 2019 when she had heart surgery, she wanted to save my life. And I wanted to save hers. But I couldn't even tell you how that was going to happen. What I know is that we work together as parents as best as we can, even though we're not together. Doing it for the sake of the children and the future generations. So it's just one of the things of why sometimes I get frustrated. But sometimes I do recommend a lot of people to stop doing some certain things. You know, because I had traumas as kids where I told people to stop, and they wouldn't. Because the things they were doing was so fucked up, so messed up, they needed to listen. Because sometimes when I tell you to stop, it is for a good fucking reason. And a lot of times, it's one of the things of why I tend to give up. So even holding my ground. Because I got a couple people to tell the truth about what they did. Because I was standing my ground. Because honestly, we were going to be benched. And they really wanted to play hockey. And I wasn't going to give a shit if all three of us were benched. Tell the truth. And be truthful. It's one of the things that I really wanted in life. You know, lying to hurt yourself is something that my mom was trying to tell me. Like a little white lie. You know, because 7 years ago when I went down to Arkansas to visit my family, I told my mother about it, my adopted mom. And she told me, it's okay to tell a little white lie. I was like, I'm not lying, I'm coming back to work. And I get down there and something changed. And I stayed down there for a year. But because it was a part of my family, trying to make sure my family kept the house that they had, I had to get a job because someone moved out when I got there. And I had to get a job so they can pay rent. So it's one of the things about taking care of my family. And I never gave up on them. Because I even made something. And she's seen it. It's one of the things that makes a grown man cry. Especially in the service, military. And a letter home that I have written that I would be carrying with me wherever I go. It's one of the things that I don't know. I loved life. I had a trauma when I was a kid. Thanks to curiosity. You know, because my daughter triggered it. It was the darkest trauma I ever had in my life. You know, because she was playing hide and seek with her brothers and she decided to try and climb inside a refrigerator.